If God had to take a day of rest, maybe we ought to take a look at that as well. He commands us to rest our souls for a day. Welcome back to another edition of Inspiring Courageous Faith. We're in the process of unpacking ways to reduce stress in your life. And earlier I shared on an episode that the way we reduce stress is to feed your soul what it needs to survive and thrive. And Jesus has got something to say about that. And that's why if you haven't listened to that podcast, you need to go back and listen to it. It's about 20 minutes long, but I think it'll encourage you as you handle stress in your life. But the second one that I want to talk about, how to handle stress in your life, is to create a day of rest for your soul. Create a day of rest for your soul. I love what Bill Butterworth described one time when he had to stay home and take care of their 4 kids while his wife was gone. And he had a 5-year-old, a 4, a 2, and a 1 month. And so, he was praying for his wife's return quickly when he did that. But I want to read this to you because this kind of describes how stress shows up in our lives. You have to keep your sense of humor about things that happen. He entitled this, "The Week Joe Bailey Came to Town." My 4-year-old wants to know why it is that when mommy goes out, the kids have to go to bed while it's still light. I tried to feed them dinner, a real disaster. Tomorrow night, I'm going to feed them in the backyard. They'll eat off of paper plates, and they'll be dressed only in their underwear and shower caps. The kids always want me to read the alphabet book because they know with that book I can't skip all the pages. Never close your eyes when you pray with four kids. I always wanted to ask my 4-year-old what it was like to sleep on the top bunk with his big wheel. 60 Minutes wouldn't even do a show on our family. They'd be safer in the Middle East. The kids are all mad at me now because cupcakes don't float in the tub. My 2-year-old has special powers. He can look at a glass of juice and it'll spill. I just made a big mistake. I lifted the lid on the diaper pail. That one act clears sinuses, kills roaches, fleas and ticks, and effectively discourages would-be burglars. I got angry. I said some things I shouldn't have. And now my 5-year-old wants to know, who is Joe Bailey and why do I hate him so much, she said. Well, we all have those things in our lives. And I think one of the places we start as we talk about managing stress is before we get to this second one that we've got here, is do an inventory in your life of what are the things that create stress for you. For Bill Butterworth, it was clear, 4 kids under the age of 5. For you, it may be something different. And I've got 5 of them here that I wrote down a number of years ago when we were in the thick of it with raising our family. The first is unreal expectations. Other people's unrealistic expectations and our own unreal expectations of ourselves and our unreal expectations of those closest to us that they may not be able to live up to. The problem is too many expectations, too many choices, and too many demands on others. A second one, activity fueled by insecurity. A lot of people have to stay busy rather than have to face up to who they are and who they're not. They're filling their soul with activity. They need to feel busy so they can feel important. A third one, inevitable difficulties. You know, the kind of stuff that shows up when you don't want it to. Broken computers, cars, lights going out, interruptions, the big things, the little things, things we don't have time for. And then there's the big things, suffering, major health issues, the health of a family member that takes us off track. Barbara and I know about that. Maybe we'll tell you in a future podcast what happened there. The fourth thing is a failure to plan. I'm grateful I'm married to a wife who loves to plan. Our romantic date nights are really all about planning, and I welcome them. I totally welcome them. And finally, the last one is a lack of values. A lack of values. We don't know what we believe. We don't know what God expects of us. And we don't know what demands our involvement. What's most important? And so we don't know how to make good decisions. And as a result, we make a lot of bad decisions. Well, this second one here is about creating a day of rest. And actually what it does, it creates an island of clarity. A time of rest for your soul so you have a chance to look around what's taking place. And I actually, when we were raising our kids, pictured pulling off in a canoe off to the side of a river and watching stuff go down the stream. And just sat over there in an eddy, a place where I didn't have to paddle that hard, and just take a deep breath, exhale, and watch what was happening around me. The place that God begins, though, is the 10 Commandments. The first 4 commandments of the 10 are all about our relationship with God. He commands us not to worship false gods, idols, not to take the name of God in vain. And in Exodus 20, verses 8 through 11, he gives us an interesting command. And I want you to think about this as you think about creating a day of rest for your soul. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. But the 7th day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work. You or your son or your daughter or your male servant or your female servant or your livestock or the sojourners who are within your gates. Now listen to what he had to say. For 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them. And on the 7th day he rested. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath and made it holy. You know, if God had to take a day of rest, maybe we ought to take a look at that as well. He commands us to rest our souls for a day. Author of the book Springs in the Valley, Letty Kalman, writes about the African colony history and tells the story of a traveler who hired a number of servants to haul goods for a long trip into the jungle. The first day was rapid and far. The traveler hoped for a speedy arrival and journey, but he was disappointed on the second day because the servants awakened in the jungle and the tribesmen refused to move. They just sat there and rested. He inquired as to why and was told we had gone too fast on the day before and that we were waiting, listen to this, that they were waiting on their souls to catch up with their bodies. Isn't that a great statement? Letty Kalman goes on to exhort us. She says, this whirling and rushing life which so many of us live is for us what those first days of their march did for those poor jungle tribesmen. The difference, she says, is that they knew how to restore life's balance. Too often, she writes, we do not. I might add, I think we've forgotten how to rest and how to find restorative rest in the middle of the rush so that our souls and bodies can catch up with each other. I think also the idea of rest in our culture is repulsive. Why? Well, because it's not productive. It creates guilt because we're not working through our checklist. We've got to do something. Rest doesn't look like it helps me achieve anything. And when I compare myself with other people in the competition, they appear to be getting ahead while I'm falling behind. But God commands us to rest. I believe God designed rest to wean us from our activity and work addictions so that we could turn our hearts toward Him. God commands it and even models how to do it during creation, where He worked for 6 days and then He rested. If God rested and commanded it, shouldn't we? Some who are now watching this can recall how America used to observe a different pace on Sunday because of certain laws that were enacted, called blue laws. Those laws kept people from opening their businesses on Sunday. Certain commercial activities and stores were closed every Sunday. I remember it as a boy, that there were certain places we couldn't go on the weekend, and it slowed us down, really slow. And I think all of us know of a little family-owned fast food company that's closed on Sundays. 5 of our 6 kids worked there because it was a great place for them to work and learn the work ethic and learn how to serve customers. But we also wanted to be with our children on Sunday. Chick-fil-A, that's who it was. Well, thanks largely to Barbara, as we raised our family, the pace slowed down considerably on Sunday. She really believed, and does believe still, in this 4th commandment: honor the Sabbath and keep it holy. She believed Sunday was a day for our kids to turn off media, all media, read good books, play in the front yard, take a walk, maybe with their parents. All of these, when we enacted them, were not real popular, as I recall, with our kids. No media? Dad, can't you be in the 21st century? My goodness. We chose to keep the Sabbath and go to church. Maybe sleep a little later, recreate, play games, go for drives, take those walks. But Barbara and I also used Sunday nights as a date night. We had 4 teenagers at one time. That's right, a lot of hormones in our house. It was about that deep in the house, as I recall. It was time for Barbara and me to clear our heads, make sure our relationship was intact, and make sure we're building our relationship for us, because every marriage must be built to outlast its kids. Plus, we'd go over the calendar and we'd dialogue and we'd talk about how our values were working out or not. In fact, we were so regular at one of the restaurants that we used to go to on Sunday night that because of travel and family vacations, we didn't show up for dinner for about a month. And when we did, the wait staff came to us and said, "Are you guys okay? Everything okay in your marriage, your family?" They were concerned because we hadn't been there. Well, our kids used to say to us sometimes, "Hey, Mom, Dad, aren't you guys going to head out?" I think they wanted to get rid of us, so they had a little space from us too. And here's one additional way you can use the Sabbath to clear your head. If you've never read the book of Ecclesiastes cover to cover, it's in the Old Testament, right after the Psalms, and right in there around the Song of Solomon. Don't get distracted by that. But read the book of Ecclesiastes and dig in and peruse the pages and truly think about it. As you read the book, you're going to notice that the unknown author of that book offers insight and perspective about our pursuits and our values throughout the book. And it comes as a result when he says, "Thus I pondered. Then I came to the conclusion about God, about life, and about choices." The book of Ecclesiastes is all about finding purpose in life. In fact, the end of that book has a brief summary that I think kind of brings us all back to the essence of what life is all about. This is how it reads. "The end of the matter, when all has been heard, fear God, keep His commandments, For this is the whole duty of man. For God will bring every deed into judgment with every secret thing, whether good or whether evil. That's Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 13 and 14. Now, maybe what you need to do as you think about stress reliever number 2, as you think about creating a day of rest for your soul, is talk to your spouse or talk to a good friend of yours if you're a single person, and brainstorm about how you might be able to turn Sunday into an island of clarity and allow our souls to catch up with our bodies. Sunday is a great head clearer for Barbara and me. It's still a time we look forward to, and it was key as we raised our kids. Now think about your priorities. What needs to change in your priorities? What habits do you need to clean up or maybe edit a bit to fulfill that command more purely? Honor the Sabbath. Keep it holy. I think it's worth reviewing. Stress reliever number 2. Honor the Sabbath and keep it holy. Now, if you know someone who might be able to benefit from hearing this message on stress relief and from pressure, and just take a step back and evaluate how they use their Sundays, go down below and click the share button and pass it on. And if you have a comment, we'd love to hear your comments. Click the comment button, type it in there. We'd love to read your comments because we're creating this for you. We'd like to know what works and what doesn't. Thanks for tuning in. Keep on listening to Inspiring Courageous Faith. I hope you're a subscriber. Click that button before you leave today too. And pray for us here. We've got a lot of challenges in our lives as well. I'll share some of those next time.
Go to therainey's.org/podcast for more inspiring courageous faith content.